Maya Collins stepped off the transport ship and looked around the massive space station. The place was bigger than anything she had ever seen. Metal walls stretched up so high that she could not see the top. Bright lights made everything look clean and new. The air smelled different here, like machines and recycled oxygen instead of the fresh wind from her home planet. Other new recruits walked past her. Some were tall blue aliens with 4 arms. Others looked like giant insects with big round eyes. A few glowed with soft light and floated instead of walking. Maya had never seen so many different types of beings in one place. She felt very small and very human. A loud voice echoed through the arrival area. All new recruits report to Training Base 7 for orientation. Maya picked up her single bag and followed the crowd. Her bag was light because she did not own much. Just some clothes, a few personal items, and one special thing hidden at the bottom that nobody else knew about. The training bay was huge. Hundreds of recruits filled the space. Maya found a spot near the back and tried not to stand out. She was good at that. Growing up on a farming planet had taught her to be quiet and watch before acting. A massive alien walked to the front of the group. He had 4 arms and blue skin that looked like stone. His voice was deep and strong. "I am Commander Zektar. You are here to learn how to fight for the Galactic Alliance. Some of you will succeed, many of you will not." Maya listened as the commander explained the training program. They would learn to use weapons, fly ships, and work as teams. The best students would get the important jobs. The rest would do support work or go home. Maya understood that this was her chance to prove that humans belonged here. The commander pointed to different groups of aliens. "The Zephyrians are strong and stable. They make excellent gunners." The blue 4-armed aliens stood straighter. The Krathari see everything with their compound eyes. "They are perfect scouts." The insect-like beings clicked their approval. The Luminari can sense energy fields. They find hidden enemies easily. The glowing aliens pulsed brighter. Then the commander looked at the small group of humans. "Humans are new to the Alliance. We will see what they can do." His tone made it clear he did not expect much. Some of the alien recruits made sounds that might have been laughter. Maya felt her face get hot, but she did not show it. She had learned to hide her feelings a long time ago. Her grandfather had taught her that showing anger or hurt made you weak. Better to stay calm and wait for the right moment. After orientation, the recruits went to their sleeping areas. Maya shared a room with 3 other beings. Her bunkmate was a Krathari named Kira Voss. Kira had large compound eyes and moved in quick, sharp motions. She seemed curious about Maya. "Where are you from, human?" Kira asked. Her voice made clicking sounds between words. "New Haven," Maya said. "It is a farming colony on the edge of human space. What did you do there?" Maya sat on her narrow bed. "Helped my family grow crops, hunted small animals for food. Normal colony things. Did someone teach you to fight?" Maya paused. This was always the hard question. "My grandfather taught me to shoot when I was young. For hunting, you know." Kira nodded. "Hunting is good training. But space combat is different from hunting small animals." "I know," Maya said quietly. She did not mention that her grandfather had taught her much more than hunting. She did not talk about the years of special training or the secrets her grandfather had shared. Those memories were private. The next morning, training began. Commander Zektar led them to a weapons range. Targets lined the far wall at different distances. The aliens looked excited. Maya tried to look nervous and uncertain like she thought a farm girl should. "Today we test your basic shooting skills," the commander announced. "Each species will show what they can do naturally. Then we will see who can improve." The Zephyrians went first. Their 4 arms let them hold weapons very steady. They hit target after target with impressive accuracy. The other aliens made approving sounds. Maya watched carefully but tried to look worried. The Krathari shot next. Their compound eyes tracked multiple targets at once. They could switch between distant and close targets faster than Maya could follow. Again, the crowd seemed impressed. The Luminari were different. They did not need to see the targets in normal light. They sensed the energy patterns and hit targets that were completely hidden from everyone else. Maya had to admit that was pretty amazing. Then it was time for the humans. There were only 12 humans in the whole group. Maya watched as her fellow humans tried their best. Some did okay, hitting a few targets. Others missed completely. None of them performed as well as the aliens. Maya could see disappointment on human faces and smug satisfaction on alien ones. When Maya's turn came, she walked to the firing line. The weapon felt familiar in her hands even though it was different from what she had trained with. Her grandfather had taught her that all weapons followed the same basic rules. The key was understanding those rules. Maya aimed at a medium-distance target. She could have hit a much harder shot, but that would raise questions. Instead, she took a normal shot and hit the target near the center. Good enough to pass, not good enough to stand out. Acceptable, Commander Zektar said without enthusiasm. Next, Maya stepped back and watched the rest of the humans shoot. Most of them looked frustrated. She wanted to help them, but that would mean revealing things she was not ready to share. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her memory. Wait for the right time, Maya. Show your strength only when it truly matters. That evening, Maya sat in the dining area with other recruits. The aliens talked loudly about their successful shooting. The humans sat quietly at their own table, looking defeated. Jake Murphy, a human marine from Earth, shook his head. Did you see how easy it was for them? 4 arms, compound eyes, energy sensing. How are we supposed to compete with that? Lisa Chang, a Navy pilot candidate, poked at her food. Maybe we should focus on other skills. Not everyone has to be a shooter. Maya listened but did not say much. She wanted to tell them that humans had advantages too. But her grandfather had made her promise to keep his teachings secret, unless humanity truly needed them. One bad day of shooting was not enough to break that promise. As she walked back to her room, Maya overheard 2 Zephyrian recruits talking. The humans will not last long, one said. They are too weak and slow. I heard they only got into the alliance for political reasons, the other replied. Not because they can actually fight. Maya kept walking and did not react. But inside she felt a familiar feeling. It was the same calm, cold focus her grandfather had taught her to use when hunting. The feeling that came before a perfect shot. She was not ready to show her true skills yet. But she was starting to think that time might come sooner than she had planned. Maya lay in her bunk that night, staring at the metal ceiling. The space station hummed with quiet machine sounds, but her mind was far away. She was thinking about home and the old man who had changed her life forever. New Haven was a small farming colony where everyone knew everyone else. Maya's family grew wheat and vegetables in the rich soil. Life was simple and peaceful most of the time. But when Maya was 10 years old, raiders attacked the colony. They wanted to steal the harvest and take anything valuable. Most families hid in their houses and hoped the raiders would leave. But Maya's father decided to fight back. He took his old hunting rifle and went out to defend their farm. He was brave but not trained for real combat. The raiders would have killed him if not for the strange old man who lived in the mountains. Frank Morrison appeared like a ghost in the night. Maya remembered watching from the farmhouse window as he moved through the darkness. The raiders never saw him coming. One by one, they fell to precise shots from impossible distances. By morning, the threat was over and Frank had disappeared back into the mountains. Maya's father went to thank Frank a few days later. He found the old man living alone in a small cabin, growing his own food and keeping to himself. Frank was polite but distant. He did not talk about where he came from or how he had learned to shoot so well. I owe you a debt, Maya's father said. If there is anything I can do to repay you, just ask. Frank looked at Maya, who had come along for the visit. She was holding her father's hunting rifle, trying to figure out how it worked. Your daughter wants to learn to shoot, Frank observed. She is too young, Maya's father replied. Maybe when she is older. Age does not matter, Frank said quietly. What matters is whether she has the mind for it. Bring her back tomorrow. I will teach her the basics. Maya's parents agreed, thinking Frank would show her simple target practice. They had no idea what Frank Morrison really was or what he would teach their daughter over the next 8 years. The first lesson was not about shooting at all. Frank made Maya sit perfectly still for 1 hour, watching the forest around his cabin. What do you see? He asked. Trees, Maya said. Birds, rocks. Look harder. Maya tried again. Slowly, she began to notice things she had missed before. The way the wind moved different branches in different patterns. How some birds flew in straight lines while others circled. The small sounds that meant animals were moving through the brush. Good, Frank said. Shooting is not about pulling a trigger. It is about seeing everything, understanding everything, and then acting with perfect control. Week after week, Maya learned new things. Frank taught her about wind and how it affected bullets at long distances. He showed her how to read weather patterns and predict changes. He made her practice breathing exercises until she could slow her heart rate and steady her hands at will. Only after months of this training did Frank let Maya touch a real rifle. When she finally took her first shot, The bullet went exactly where she aimed. Frank nodded with satisfaction. "You have the gift," he said. "Now we can begin the real training." Maya had no idea that Frank Morrison was one of the most famous snipers in human military history. She did not know about his record-breaking shots during the Titan Colony Rebellion, or the advanced techniques he had developed for Earth's elite forces. To her, he was just a kind old man who lived in the mountains and knew more about shooting than anyone else. As Maya grew older, Frank's lessons became more complex. He taught her mathematics for calculating bullet drop over vast distances. He showed her how to read atmospheric pressure and humidity. He made her practice shooting in all kinds of weather at all times of day and night. "Why do I need to know all this?" Maya asked one day when she was 15. "I just want to hunt deer for my family." Frank was quiet for a long moment. "Because someday someone might need you to make a shot that matters more than hunting," he said. "When that day comes, you will be ready." The hardest part of Frank's training was mental. He taught Maya to stay calm under pressure, to ignore distractions, and to focus completely on the target. He would make loud noises while she was aiming. He would tell her that people's lives depended on her shot. He would create situations where she had only one chance to succeed. "Fear makes your hands shake," Frank explained. "Anger makes you rush. Pride makes you overconfident. A true marksman feels none of these things. You must be like ice, clear and still." Maya learned to enter a special state of mind when she shot. In that state, nothing existed except her, the rifle, and the target. Time seemed to slow down. Her breathing became perfectly controlled. Her heartbeat steadied to a calm rhythm. In that moment, missing was impossible. When Maya was 17, Frank gave her a special gift. It was a custom rifle scope that he had modified with techniques known only to him. The scope looked normal, but had improvements that made it far superior to standard equipment. "This scope has been with me through many battles," Frank said. "It has never failed me. I want you to have it." "I cannot take this," Maya protested. "It must be very valuable." "Its value is not in money," Frank replied. "Its value is in the knowledge built into it. Knowledge that I am passing on to you." Maya treasured the scope but rarely used it. Frank had taught her to shoot well with any equipment. The special scope was for emergencies only, when perfect accuracy was absolutely necessary. In Maya's 18th year, Frank became sick. The colony doctor said there was nothing they could do. Frank knew he was dying, and he had important things to tell Maya before the end. "I have not been completely honest with you," Frank admitted as he lay in his bed. "I was once a soldier, a sniper for Earth's military forces. I have seen terrible things and done things I am not proud of, but teaching you has been the best part of my life." Maya felt tears on her cheeks. "Why did you never tell me?" "Because I wanted you to learn for the right reasons," Frank said. "Not because of my reputation, but because you had the talent and the heart for it. You are better than I ever was, Maya. Your skills will take you far beyond this little colony." Frank made Maya promise two things before he died. First, she must never reveal her true training unless humanity's honor truly depended on it. Second, she must use her skills to help others, never for personal gain or revenge. "Humans are going to the stars now," Frank said with his last breath. "They will need people like you out there, but they must earn respect through their own merit, not by relying on old legends like me." Maya buried Frank Morrison in a quiet spot overlooking the valley. She was the only person at the funeral who knew that one of humanity's greatest warriors had just passed away. To everyone else, he was just the strange old man from the mountains who had taught the Collins girl how to shoot. Now, lying in her bunk on the Alliance training station, Maya thought about Frank's words. Around her, alien recruits slept peacefully, confident in their natural advantages. They had no idea that a human girl from a farming colony carried knowledge that could change everything. But Frank had made her promise to wait for the right moment. Maya closed her eyes and tried to sleep. She would know when that moment came. 3 weeks into training, the rankings were clear. Maya watched the daily score displays with growing concern, not for herself but for her fellow humans. The Zephyrians dominated every shooting exercise with their four-armed stability. The Krithari excelled at tracking multiple targets with their compound eyes. The Luminari could detect hidden enemies through walls using their energy-sensing abilities. Humans consistently ranked at the bottom of every category. Commander Zektar stood before the assembled recruits, his blue skin gleaming under the training bay lights. His forearms gestured at the holographic scoreboard floating above them. As you can see, natural abilities matter greatly in military operations, he announced. Some species are simply better suited for certain roles. Maya clenched her fists but kept her face neutral. She was deliberately performing at mediocre levels, hitting enough targets to pass but never excelling. Every day she watched talented humans, like Jake Murphy, struggle against aliens who had been born with advantages that no amount of human training seemed able to overcome. The Zephyrians will continue advanced marksmanship training, Commander Zektar continued. Their stability makes them ideal for precision work. The blue aliens looked pleased with themselves. Krithari will focus on reconnaissance and multi-target engagement. The insect-like beings clicked their approval. Maya's stomach tightened as the commander's gaze fell on the human section. Humans will be transferred to logistics and support training. Your technical skills may prove useful in non-combat roles. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Around her, the other human recruits looked devastated. Lisa Chang stared at the floor, her dreams of becoming a fighter pilot crumbling. Ryan Torres, who had scored perfectly on every written exam, seemed ready to quit entirely. That evening in the recreation area, Maya overheard conversations that made her blood boil. A group of Zephyrian recruits sat at a nearby table, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. I told you humans would not last long in real training, one said, his multiple arms gesturing dismissively. They are just too primitive. The Alliance only accepted them for political reasons, another agreed. They needed to show they welcome all species, even the weak ones. A Krithari joined the conversation, her compound eyes glittering with amusement. My instructor says humans might be useful for carrying equipment. Their small size could be an advantage in tight spaces. Maya felt the cold, focused anger her grandfather had taught her to recognize. Frank's voice echoed in her memory. Channel anger into precision, never let it make you reckless. She breathed slowly and forced herself to remain calm. At the human table, the mood was dark. Jake Murphy pushed his food around his plate without eating. Maybe they are right, he said quietly. Maybe we just do not belong out here. I scored higher than half the Zephyrians on the technical exams, Ryan Torres protested. But none of that matters if I cannot hit targets like they can. Lisa Chang looked up from her untouched meal. My flight simulator scores are excellent. But if they will not let humans into combat roles, what is the point? Maya wanted desperately to tell them the truth. She wanted to explain that humans had capabilities these aliens had never imagined. But Frank's promise bound her to silence unless humanity's honor truly depended on it. Was this moment serious enough? Or should she wait longer? The next day brought even worse news. Lieutenant Velkar, a particularly arrogant Zephyrian, was appointed as a squad leader over mixed species teams. His first act was to reorganize the group so that humans served as equipment carriers and observers, while aliens did all the actual fighting. Humans will spot targets and call out information, Velkar announced to Maya's assigned squad. Leave the shooting to those with proper training and natural ability. Maya found herself carrying ammunition for a Krithari sniper named Thekska, who treated her like a servant. During a field exercise, Maya quietly suggested a better approach to a long-range target, based on wind patterns she had observed. Thekska ignored her completely. Human eyes cannot see what mine can see, Thekska said dismissively. Your suggestions are not needed. Maya watched as Thekska took shot after shot at a distant target, missing each time because she was not accounting for the complex wind patterns. Maya could have hit that target easily, but her role was to stay quiet and carry equipment. The exercise ended in failure for their squad. Velkar blamed the humans for poor support work, even though the aliens had made all the tactical decisions. Maya bit her tongue and said nothing. Later that week, Maya learned something that changed everything. She was walking past an instructor's office when she overheard Commander Zektar talking to another officer. The final assessment results will determine permanent assignments, Zektar was saying. Humans who cannot meet minimum combat standards will be reassigned to support duties throughout the Alliance. What about the ones who show potential? The other officer asked. Zektar made a sound that might have been laughter. I have seen no evidence of combat potential among human recruits. Their test scores suggest they might be useful as technicians or administrators, but not as warriors. Maya's heart sank as she realized the full scope of the problem. This was not just about training rankings. This was about humanity's entire future in the Alliance. If humans were classified as support personnel only, they would never gain respect among the other species. Earth would become a junior member of the Alliance, valued only for their technical skills and willingness to do jobs that aliens considered beneath them. She thought about Frank's warning that humans needed to prove themselves through their own merit. But what if the system was designed to prevent humans from ever showing their true capabilities? What if alien advantages were so overwhelming that human merit could never shine through? That night, Maya lay awake thinking about her fellow humans. Jake Murphy had confided that he was considering dropping out and returning to Earth. "I joined the Alliance military to prove that humans belonged among the stars," he had said. "But now I feel like I am just embarrassing my whole species." Lisa Chang was struggling even more. Despite her excellent technical scores, she had been removed from fighter pilot training and placed in transport operations. "I dreamed of flying combat missions," she told Maya sadly. "Now they want me to ferry supplies between safe stations." Ryan Torres was perhaps the most frustrated of all. His tactical knowledge was exceptional, but no one listened to his strategic suggestions because humans were not considered qualified for leadership roles. "I can see better solutions to these problems," he said to Maya. "But who is going to listen to a human?" Maya realized that her promise to Frank was creating an impossible situation. If she continued to hide her abilities, talented humans would be pushed out of important roles. But if she revealed her training too early, it might be dismissed as a fluke or an exception that did not represent human potential in general. The pressure was building toward a breaking point. Maya could see it in the faces of her fellow humans and hear it in the increasingly dismissive comments from alien recruits. Something had to change soon, or humanity's chance to prove itself in the Alliance might be lost forever. As Maya finally drifted off to sleep, she made a decision. She would continue watching and waiting, but not much longer. Frank had taught her to recognize when a situation was reaching the critical moment. That moment was coming soon, and when it arrived, Maya would be ready to show the galaxy what a human could really do. The emergency alarm shattered the quiet of the training station at 0600 hours. Maya bolted upright in her bunk as red lights flashed throughout the sleeping quarters. Around her, alien and human recruits scrambled to get dressed and reach their assigned emergency stations. Commander Zektar's voice boomed through the station's communication system. "All personnel report to the main briefing hall immediately. This is not a drill." Maya joined the stream of recruits rushing through the corridors. Something in the commander's tone told her this was serious. When they reached the briefing hall, she saw worry on alien faces that usually showed only confidence. Commander Zektar stood at the front of the room, his forearms clasped behind his back. Behind him, a massive holographic display showed star maps with red zones marked across several sectors. Maya had never seen so much red on an Alliance territory map. "The Alliance faces its first major external threat since formation," Zektar announced. His voice was grim. "An aggressive species called the Vorthan Empire has launched coordinated attacks on 17 outer colony worlds in the past 72 hours. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Maya felt her stomach drop as she saw familiar names on the target list. New Haven was not among them, but other human colonies were. Families like hers were under attack right now. Zektar gestured at the holographic display. "Initial reports indicate that Vorthan forces are technologically advanced and numerically superior to our defensive units. Their tactics rely on establishing dominant positions and eliminating Alliance forces from extreme distances using precision weaponry." Maya's heart began to race. This was exactly the type of warfare that Frank had prepared her for. Long-range precision shooting under combat conditions was what separated good marksmen from legendary ones. "The Alliance Military Command is forming rapid response units to counter this threat," Zektar continued. "Training schedules are being accelerated. Only the most qualified recruits will be assigned to frontline combat roles." A new figure entered the briefing hall, and Maya felt the mood in the room shift. The newcomer was another Zephyrian, but older and scarred. His blue skin bore the marks of real combat, and his movements showed the confidence of someone who had survived many battles. "This is Colonel Thane Crix," Commander Zektar announced. "He is a veteran of the last major galactic conflict and will be overseeing our advanced combat training programs." Colonel Crix stepped forward, his experienced eyes scanning the assembled recruits. "I have reviewed your training records," he said in a voice roughened by years of command. "The Vorthon threat requires specialists in long-range precision engagement, warriors who can operate under extreme pressure and deliver perfect shots when lives depend on it." Maya leaned forward despite herself. This was exactly what Frank had trained her for. "Based on current performance rankings, the following species will be prioritized for advanced combat training," Crix announced. "Zephyrians for their stability and multi-arm coordination, Krathari for their superior targeting systems, Luminari for their energy detection capabilities." Maya's heart sank as she realized what was coming next. Other species will be assigned to support roles appropriate to their demonstrated abilities, Crix concluded. "Humans will continue logistics and technical training." The words hit Maya like a physical blow, but worse was watching her fellow humans. Jake Murphy's face went completely blank. Lisa Chang closed her eyes as if fighting back tears. Ryan Torres clenched his fist so tightly that his knuckles turned white. After the briefing, Maya found herself walking aimlessly through the station corridors. The normal training schedule had been suspended while instructors reorganized programs around the new threat assessment. She needed time to think. She ended up in an observation deck that looked out into space. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see stars scattered like diamonds against the black void. Somewhere out there, human colonies were burning while she sat on a training station, forbidden from helping because her species was considered too weak for real combat. Jake Murphy found her there an hour later. He sat down beside her without saying anything at first. Finally, he spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "My sister lives on Harmony Station," he said. "It was one of the colonies hit in the first wave. I have not been able to reach her." Maya felt her chest tighten. "I am sorry, Jake. Maybe the communication systems are just damaged." "Maybe," Jake replied, but his tone suggested he did not believe it. "You know what the worst part is? I could help. I know I could. But they will not even give me the chance to try." More human recruits began to arrive at the observation deck. Word had spread that this was a place where they could talk freely without alien ears listening. Soon Maya was surrounded by frustrated, angry, and heartbroken humans. "They are writing us off before the real fighting even starts," Ryan Torres said bitterly. "All my tactical training, all my strategic analysis skills, none of it matters because I cannot shoot like a Zephyrian." Lisa Chang wiped tears from her eyes. "I could fly combat missions. I know I could. My simulator scores prove it, but they want me loading cargo instead." Maya listened to story after story of human potential being wasted. These were good people, talented people, who wanted nothing more than to serve the Alliance and protect innocent lives. But the system was designed around alien advantages that humans could not naturally match. As the hours passed, Maya's resolve began to crack. Frank had made her promise to wait for the right moment. But how could she define right when people were dying and her fellow humans were being pushed aside? When did personal promises become less important than the greater good? That evening, the mood in the human sleeping quarters was darker than Maya had ever seen. Several recruits were packing their belongings, preparing to request transfers back to Earth. The dream of humans proving themselves among the stars was dying before her eyes. Jake Murphy sat on his bunk, staring at a photograph of his sister. "I keep thinking there has to be something we can do," he said to no one in particular. "Some way to show them that we belong here." "Face it, Jake," another human replied sadly. "We are just not built for this kind of work. The aliens have advantages we will never have." Maya felt something snap inside her chest. These were Frank's people, humanity's best and brightest. Giving up because they had been convinced they were inferior. Frank had died believing that humans had unique capabilities that could benefit the entire galaxy. Was she going to let that belief die with him? She thought about the Vorthon attacks, about families like her own facing an enemy that specialized in long-range precision combat. She thought about alien forces being overwhelmed because they did not understand the subtle arts that Frank had mastered. She thought about human colonies burning, while the galaxy's best marksmen sat in support roles carrying equipment for aliens who might be skilled, but were not perfect. Maya made her decision. The right moment was not some future crisis that might never come. The right moment was now, when humanity needed every advantage it could get, and when her fellow humans needed to see that they were not inferior to anyone. She reached under her bunk and pulled out the case containing Frank's modified scope. It was time to honor her grandfather's memory not by keeping his secrets, but by using them to save lives and prove that humans deserved respect among the stars. Tomorrow, Maya would find a way to demonstrate what Frank Morrison had taught her. She would show the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon was not natural advantages, but the knowledge and determination to overcome any obstacle through skill and training. The war with the Vorthons would be won or lost by precision shooting under impossible conditions. Maya smiled grimly as she held Frank's scope. The aliens had no idea what was coming. Colonel Cricks's announcement came the next morning, during what should have been a routine training session. Maya stood with the other recruits in the main assembly hall, Frank's scope hidden in her equipment bag, waiting for the right opportunity to reveal her true abilities. The situation with the Vorthon Empire has accelerated our timeline, Cricks declared, his scarred face serious under the bright lights. We no longer have months to complete training. The Alliance needs skilled warriors immediately. Maya felt tension ripple through the assembled recruits. Everyone understood that their comfortable training schedule had just been shattered. Therefore, we will conduct a comprehensive championship competition over the next 5 days, Cricks continued. This competition will determine final rankings and immediate assignments to combat units. There will be no second chances. The colonel gestured toward a massive holographic display that showed different shooting challenges and scoring systems. The competition will test every aspect of marksmanship and tactical shooting. Close-range precision, medium-distance accuracy, moving target engagement, environmental challenge shooting, and finally, extreme long-range precision under combat simulation conditions. Maya's pulse quickened at the mention of extreme long-range shooting. That was Frank's specialty, the area where his techniques could make the biggest difference. The top graduates will be assigned to rapid response units currently being deployed against Vorthon forces, Cricks announced. The rest will remain in defensive positions or support roles. Maya watched as alien recruits straightened with confidence while humans seemed to shrink into themselves. The message was clear. This competition would separate the warriors from the support staff, and everyone expected humans to end up in the latter category. Lieutenant Velkar, the arrogant Zephyrian who had been appointed squad leader, raised one of his forearms. Colonel, will the competition account for natural species advantages? It seems unfair to judge all recruits by the same standards when some species are clearly superior in certain areas. Maya clenched her teeth at the comment, but Cricks's response surprised her. War is not fair. Lieutenant, the colonel replied coldly. The Vorthons will not adjust their tactics based on which species they face. Every Alliance warrior must meet the same standards because every Alliance warrior faces the same enemies. The competition began immediately. Maya watched as the various alien species demonstrated their natural advantages in the early challenges. During close-range precision shooting, the Zephyrians dominated with their four-armed stability. Their ability to hold weapons perfectly steady while making tiny adjustments gave them a significant edge. The Crithari excelled at medium-distance accuracy, their compound eyes tracking targets with mechanical precision. They could identify and engage multiple targets faster than any other species, switching between distant and close threats in seconds. When it came to moving target engagement, the Luminari showed their superiority. Their energy-sensing abilities allowed them to predict target movement patterns before other species could even see the targets clearly. Maya participated in each challenge, maintaining her strategy of deliberate mediocrity. She hit enough targets to avoid elimination, but never excelled enough to draw attention. It was becoming increasingly difficult to watch her fellow humans struggle against alien advantages that seemed insurmountable. Jake Murphy managed decent scores in close-range shooting, but his human reflexes could not match Crithari speed in multi-target scenarios. Lisa Chang showed excellent tactical thinking, but her suggestions were ignored by the alien team leaders who assumed humans had nothing valuable to contribute. Ryan Torres frustrated Maya the most. His strategic analysis was brilliant, often identifying optimal approaches that even the alien instructors missed. But because his shooting scores were average by alien standards, no one listened to his tactical insights. As the competition progressed, the gap between species became more apparent. Alien recruits began openly discussing which humans they would select for their support teams, assuming that humans would automatically be assigned to subordinate roles. I will take the human female with technical skills, Maya overheard one Krithari saying to another. She can maintain equipment while we handle combat operations. The human male with strategic knowledge might be useful for planning, replied a Zephyrian. But only in an advisory capacity, of course. Maya felt her carefully controlled anger building toward the breaking point. These aliens were treating humans like tools rather than equals, assuming that natural physical advantages automatically translated to superior worth. The fourth day brought environmental challenge shooting, where recruits had to hit targets under various simulated weather conditions. Wind, rain, electromagnetic interference, and low visibility all combined to create shooting conditions that pushed even alien abilities to their limits. Maya watched as several Zephyrians struggled with wind calculations that seemed simple to her. Their forearmed stability was useless if they could not read atmospheric conditions properly. Krithari compound eyes were confused by the electromagnetic interference, causing them to miss targets they should have hit easily. For the first time in the competition, Maya was tempted to show her true abilities. Frank's training had prepared her for exactly these conditions. She could read wind patterns that electronic systems missed and calculate environmental factors in her head faster than most computers. But Maya held back, knowing that the final challenge would be her real opportunity. Extreme long-range precision shooting was where Frank's techniques would shine brightest, where the difference between good marksmanship and legendary skill would be most apparent. That evening, the current rankings were displayed for all recruits to see. As expected, Zephyrians occupied most of the top positions, followed by Krithari and Luminari. Humans filled the bottom third of the rankings, with several already eliminated from combat consideration. Maya found herself ranked exactly in the middle of the human group, good enough to continue but not good enough to threaten alien dominance. It was perfect positioning for what she planned to do next. Jake Murphy sat heavily on his bunk, staring at his low-ranking number. "One more day," he said quietly. "One more chance to prove we belong here." "What is the point?" asked another human recruit. "Even if we do well tomorrow, they have already decided we are support personnel. This whole competition is just for show." Maya looked around at her fellow humans and made a decision. Tomorrow, during the final challenge, she would not just demonstrate her own abilities. She would prove that human potential had been systematically underestimated, and that the galaxy was making a terrible mistake by limiting human roles in the coming war. Frank's voice echoed in her memory. "Wait for the moment when your shot truly matters, Maya, when the honor of your people depends on it." That moment had arrived. Tomorrow, Maya would take a shot that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. Tomorrow, she would show them what Frank Morrison had really taught her. As she prepared Frank's scope for the challenge ahead, Maya felt a calm focus settling over her mind. The competition was no longer about individual rankings or training assignments. It had become about proving that humans deserved respect as equals among the stars. Tomorrow would be the day that everything changed. The final day dawned with an artificial sunrise that painted the training station's corridors in shades of orange and gold. Maya had barely slept, her mind focused on the challenge ahead. Frank's modified scope lay carefully wrapped in her equipment bag, waiting for the moment that would define humanity's future in the Alliance. Colonel Crix assembled all remaining recruits in the massive outdoor range facility. Through the station's atmospheric shields, Maya could see the black void of space dotted with distant stars. Somewhere out there, the Vorthan Empire continued its advance while the Alliance struggled to mount an effective defense. "Today's final challenge will separate the warriors from the pretenders," Crix announced, his scarred face grim under the artificial lighting. "You will attempt a single shot at extreme range under full combat simulation conditions." A collective murmur rippled through the assembled recruits as the target parameters appeared on the holographic displays. Maya felt her breath catch as she read the specifications. 2,847 meters to target, multiple wind layers at different altitudes, significant elevation changes, rotating electromagnetic fields, and a time limit that would add psychological pressure. "The target represents a critical weak point on Vorthan battle armor," Crix explained. "Intelligence reports indicate that hitting such targets at extreme range will be essential for stopping their advance. This shot simulates the conditions our rapid response teams will face in actual combat." Maya studied the environmental readouts with growing excitement. These were exactly the conditions Frank had trained her for during those long years in the mountains of New Haven. Multiple wind layers, electromagnetic interference, elevation calculations, and psychological pressure under time constraints. The target itself was impossibly small at that distance, barely visible even through advanced optical equipment. Maya could see doubt creeping into even the alien faces around her. This was a shot that would challenge every species' natural advantages. Colonel Crix gestured toward the firing line. Each recruit will have exactly 10 minutes to assess conditions, prepare their equipment, and take one shot. There will be no practice rounds, no second chances. In real combat, you get one opportunity to save lives. The Zephyrians went first, their confidence visible as they approached the firing line with their four-armed stability. Maya watched as the first Zephyrian cadet, a recruit named Morketh, set up his weapon with textbook precision. His forearms provided perfect stability, just as everyone expected. But when Morketh took his shot, the projectile went wide left. The multiple wind layers had created conditions that his electronic targeting system could not properly calculate. Maya could see the confusion on his face as he realized his natural advantages had not been enough. One by one, the Zephyrians attempted the shot. A few came close, hitting the outer edges of the target area, but none achieved the precision needed for a confirmed kill on Vorthan armor. Maya could see frustration building in their ranks as their assumed dominance crumbled against the complexity of the challenge. The Crithari faced even worse difficulties. Their compound eyes, so effective at tracking multiple targets, were being confused by the electromagnetic interference. The rotating fields disrupted their natural targeting systems, leaving them unable to compensate for the environmental factors. Kira Voss, Maya's Crithari bunkmate, spent her entire 10-minute preparation time trying to recalibrate her targeting approach. When she finally took her shot, it missed the target completely. Maya could see the shock in her compound eyes as she realized her species' vaunted advantages had failed. The Luminari struggled most of all. Their energy-sensing abilities, normally so precise, were completely overwhelmed by the electromagnetic countermeasures. Several Luminari recruits could not even locate the target through the interference, let alone hit it accurately. As the alien attempts continued, Maya began to notice patterns that their electronic systems were missing. The wind layers created by the station's atmospheric processors followed predictable cycles. The electromagnetic interference had gaps that could be exploited with proper timing. The elevation changes could be calculated using mathematical principles that went beyond standard alliance training. Lieutenant Velkar, the arrogant Zephyrian squad leader, approached the firing line with visible confidence. His previous attempts during the competition had been impressive, and he clearly expected to dominate this final challenge as well. Maya watched as Velkar took extra time to set up his shot, using all four arms to create what appeared to be perfect stability. His electronic targeting system hummed as it processed environmental data. When he finally fired, Maya could see his satisfaction even before the results appeared. The shot hit within the target area, near the outer ring, but still a valid hit. It was the best performance of the day so far, drawing applause from alien recruits and instructors alike. Velkar stepped back from the firing line with obvious pride. "Excellent work, Lieutenant," Colonel Crix announced. "That shot demonstrates the level of skill required for rapid response unit assignment." Maya felt her stomach clench as she realized the implications. Velkar's shot would likely be the standard that everyone else was measured against. It was good enough to be considered successful, but Maya could see at least 3 factors he had not properly accounted for that had prevented a center hit. The human attempts began with predictable results. Jake Murphy's shot went wide right. Affected by wind conditions his equipment could not properly read. Lisa Chang hit low, her elevation calculations off by crucial degrees. Ryan Torres, despite his tactical brilliance, could not overcome the environmental factors with standard alliance training techniques. One by one, Maya's fellow humans failed to hit the target. Some came close, others missed entirely, but none achieved the precision that would qualify them for frontline combat roles. Maya could see resignation settling over human faces as their worst fears were confirmed. When Maya's turn finally arrived, she walked to the firing line carrying her standard alliance rifle and equipment bag. Around her, alien recruits watched with barely concealed amusement. The human who had consistently performed in the middle of the pack was about to attempt a shot that had challenged even their best marksman. Maya set down her equipment bag and quietly removed Frank's modified scope, For the first time since arriving at the training station, she allowed herself to truly focus with all the skills her grandfather had taught her. The nervous, uncertain cadet disappeared, replaced by the disciplined marksman who had spent 8 years learning from a legend. She attached Frank's scope to her rifle with practiced movements, her hands steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Around her, she could hear alien voices speculating about the unusual equipment, but Maya blocked them out completely. For the first time in weeks, Maya entered the focused state of mind that Frank had taught her. Time seemed to slow down as she analyzed every environmental factor with techniques that went far beyond Alliance standard training. She read wind patterns using subtle visual cues that electronic systems could not detect. She calculated elevation, adjustments using mathematical principles that Frank had learned from Earth's most elite military units. Maya could feel the electromagnetic interference patterns and began timing their cycles. She identified the optimal moment when the fields would create the least disruption. She adjusted her aim based on atmospheric pressure readings that she calculated in her head, rather than relying on potentially flawed electronic sensors. As Maya settled into her final shooting position, Colonel Crix moved closer to observe. Something in her movements had caught his experienced attention. Her positioning was subtly different from Alliance standard, optimized for the specific conditions rather than textbook form. Maya controlled her breathing using meditation techniques Frank had adapted from ancient Earth practices. Her heartbeat slowed to a calm, steady rhythm. In her mind, she could hear Frank's voice guiding her through the final calculations. Wind speed at 3 different altitudes, bullet drop over 2,047 meters, electromagnetic interference timing, and the psychological pressure of knowing that humanity's future might depend on this single shot. When Maya finally squeezed the trigger, the crack of the rifle seemed to echo differently than all the previous attempts. The projectile began its long journey through multiple wind layers, past electromagnetic interference, across the complex terrain toward the distant target that represented Vorthan battle armor. For several seconds, the entire range fell silent as the bullet traveled its impossible path. Maya remained perfectly still, her rifle steady, knowing with absolute certainty where her shot would land. Frank's training had prepared her for this moment, and she had executed everything perfectly. The target display flashed as sensors registered the impact. Maya slowly lowered her rifle and looked toward the scoring system, already knowing what she would see but waiting for the confirmation that would change everything. The electronic scoring system took several seconds to process the impact data, its sensors working to confirm what seemed impossible at such an extreme range. Maya stood perfectly still at the firing line, Frank's modified scope still attached to her rifle, waiting for the confirmation she already knew was coming. The silence stretched across the range like a held breath. Alien recruits craned their necks toward the target display, expecting to see another near miss or complete failure from the human shooter. Colonel Crix moved closer to the scoring station, his experienced eyes narrowing as he watched the data analysis process. Then the display flashed bright green, and the results appeared in holographic letters that seemed to hover in the air above the range. Perfect center hit. Maximum score. The projectile had struck the exact center point of the target, precisely where it would penetrate Vorthan battle armor for an instant kill. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya could hear the soft hum of the station's environmental systems and the distant sound of her own heartbeat, but not a single voice from the hundreds of recruits and instructors watching. The impossible had just happened and nobody seemed able to process it. Lieutenant Velkar was the first to break the silence, his forearms gesturing wildly toward the display. "There must be an error in the system," he declared loudly. "The sensors are malfunctioning. No one could make that shot under these conditions." Colonel Crix's voice cut through the growing murmur of alien voices. "Verify the results," he ordered the range technicians. "Check all systems for malfunction." Maya waited patiently as technicians ran diagnostic tests on every sensor, computer, and measurement device in the facility. She could see doubt and confusion on alien faces around her, but she felt only the calm satisfaction that Frank had taught her to experience after a perfect shot. Jake Murphy stood frozen near the human section, his mouth hanging open as he stared at the display. Lisa Chang had tears streaming down her face, though whether from joy or disbelief Maya could not tell. Ryan Torres was shaking his head slowly, a smile spreading across his features. For the first time in weeks, all systems are functioning. Normally, the lead technician reported to Colonel Crix. The cow shot struck the exact center of the target at 2,147 meters. No equipment malfunction detected. Velkar's voice rose to an almost hysterical pitch. It is impossible. Human physiology cannot achieve that level of precision. Their nervous systems are too primitive, their vision too limited. Maya finally spoke, her voice carrying clearly across the now silent range. My grandfather taught me to shoot. Colonel Crix approached Maya directly, his scarred face showing the first real interest he had displayed toward any human recruit. Your grandfather was a hunter on your colony world? Yes, Maya replied simply. But before that, he was Sergeant Frank Morrison of Earth Military Special Forces. The name hit Colonel Crix like a physical blow. Maya could see recognition flash across his features, followed immediately by disbelief. Around them, alien recruits looked confused, but several human faces showed dawning understanding. Frank Morrison is a legend, Crix said slowly. His long-range shooting record stood unbroken for decades. His tactical innovations were studied by every major military academy. But Frank Morrison disappeared years ago after the Titan Colony Rebellion. He did not disappear, Maya corrected. He retired to a farming colony called New Haven, where he spent 8 years teaching his granddaughter everything he knew about precision marksmanship. Maya began removing Frank's scope from her rifle, handling it with the reverence it deserved. This scope belonged to him. He modified it using techniques that were never shared with standard military forces. He gave it to me before he died, along with knowledge that goes far beyond what the Alliance teaches. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled crowd. Colonel Crix immediately activated his personal communication device, calling up Frank Morrison's military records from Earth archives. As the data appeared on his display, Maya could see his expression change from skepticism to amazement. Frank Morrison, Crix read aloud. Longest confirmed kill shot in human military history at 3,471 meters. Developer of advanced wind reading techniques still classified by Earth Military Command. Trainer of elite sniper units responsible for victory in the Titan Colony Rebellion. Presumed dead after disappearing from active service. Maya shook her head. Not dead. Just tired of war. He wanted to live quietly and teach someone who would use his knowledge for the right reasons. Velkar was not ready to accept the explanation. Even if this human was trained by a legendary marksman, it does not change the fundamental limitations of human physiology. One exceptional individual does not represent the capabilities of an entire species. Maya felt the familiar cold focus that Frank had taught her to recognize. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The opportunity to prove that human potential extended far beyond what anyone had imagined. You are right, Maya said calmly. One individual does not represent an entire species. But Frank's techniques can be taught to other humans. The skills I demonstrated are not dependent on genetic advantages. They are based on knowledge, training, and understanding that can be shared. She turned to address Colonel Crix directly. Sir, I request permission to train other human recruits in advanced marksmanship techniques. I believe you will find that humans have capabilities that have been systematically underestimated. The colonel studied Maya with new respect. What exactly did Frank Morrison teach you that differs from Alliance standard training? Maya smiled, thinking of the long hours she had spent learning from the old master. Environmental reading that goes beyond electronic systems. Mathematical calculations for ballistics that account for factors your computers do not measure. Mental discipline techniques adapted from ancient Earth meditation practices. And most importantly, the understanding that perfect accuracy comes from knowledge and training, not from natural physical advantages. She gestured toward her fellow human recruits. Jake Murphy has excellent hand-eye coordination and tactical instincts. With proper training, he could outshoot most Zephyrians. Lisa Chang has natural spatial awareness that could make her an exceptional long-range specialist. Ryan Torres understands ballistics theory better than anyone here, but no one has taught him how to apply that knowledge practically. Maya's voice grew stronger as she continued. Frank Morrison's techniques do not replace natural abilities. They enhance them. A Zephyrian who learns wind-reading methods will become more accurate than a Zephyrian who relies only on forearmed stability. A Krathari who understands advanced ballistics will hit targets that compound eyes alone cannot reach. Colonel Crix was quiet for a long moment, processing the implications of what Maya was suggesting. Finally, he spoke in a voice that carried throughout the range. Private Collins, you are hereby appointed as an auxiliary instructor for advanced marksmanship training. You will teach your techniques to volunteers from all species who wish to learn. The decision sent another wave of shock through the assembled recruits. Maya could see outrage on some alien faces, particularly Velkar's, but also curiosity and interest from others. This is ridiculous, Velkar protested. Humans should not be teaching superior species. The natural order, Colonel Crix interrupted sharply, is that the best ideas and techniques should be shared for the benefit of all Alliance forces. If human knowledge can make our warriors more effective against the Vorthon threat, then we will use that knowledge. Maya felt a surge of pride and satisfaction as she looked at her fellow humans. Jake Murphy was standing straighter, hope replacing resignation on his face. Lisa Chang had stopped crying and was staring at Maya with something approaching awe. Ryan Torres was nodding enthusiastically, already understanding the implications of what was happening. But Maya also noticed something else. Several alien recruits were looking at her with genuine curiosity, rather than dismissal. A Krithari named Thexka stepped forward hesitantly. Human instructor, Thexka said, using Maya's species designation with new respect. My compound eyes can see the target clearly, but I struggled with the wind calculations. Could your grandfather's techniques help me improve my accuracy? Maya smiled, thinking of how proud Frank would have been at this moment. Yes, they can. And if you teach me how to better use visual targeting methods, we can combine our species' strengths to create something better than either could achieve alone. As more recruits began volunteering for the integrated training program, Maya realized that something fundamental had changed. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by proving they were superior to other species, but by demonstrating that they had unique knowledge and capabilities that could benefit everyone. Frank Morrison's legacy was about to transform the entire Alliance military. And Maya Collins, the quiet farm girl from New Haven, would be the one to make it happen. 3 weeks after Maya's perfect shot changed everything, the training station hummed with unprecedented activity. The revolutionary integrated training program had transformed not just how species worked together, but how the Alliance itself understood the nature of military effectiveness. Maya stood before a mixed group of 30 volunteers, representing every species on the station. Frank's scope sat in a place of honor on a display stand nearby, no longer a secret but a symbol of knowledge freely shared for the greater good. Today we will work on environmental reading and electromagnetic interference conditions, Maya announced to her students. Remember, electronic systems can be fooled or jammed, but trained observation never fails. Jake Murphy raised his hand from the front row. In 3 weeks, he had transformed from a demoralized recruit ready to quit into one of the most promising marksmen on the station. Instructor Maya, should we adjust our baseline calculations for the Krithari visual spectrum differences? Maya smiled at the question. The integration of different species' capabilities had created tactical approaches that none of them could have developed alone. Excellent question, Jake. Thexka, would you explain how compound eye targeting can enhance human wind reading techniques? Thexka, the Krithari who had been among the first to volunteer for integrated training, clicked her mandibles in what Maya had learned was equivalent to a smile. Human wind reading identifies patterns that our electronic systems miss, but compound eyes can track multiple air current indicators simultaneously, providing more data points for the calculations. The lesson continued, with species after species sharing their natural advantages, while learning techniques that enhanced those advantages beyond what any had thought possible. Zephyrian forearm stability became devastatingly effective when combined with Frank's breathing control methods. Luminary energy sensing reached new levels of precision when enhanced with human mathematical ballistics calculations. Even Lieutenant Velkar had eventually joined the program, though his pride had required careful management. Maya had discovered that his arrogance covered deep insecurity about his own abilities. When she helped him achieve accuracy levels that exceeded his previous best scores by 50%, his attitude toward humans had changed completely. I was wrong about human capabilities, Velkar had admitted privately to Maya after a particularly successful training session. I confused natural advantages with actual skill. Frank Morrison's techniques have made me a better marksman than I ever imagined possible. Colonel Crix entered the training bay as Maya's lesson concluded, carrying a communication tablet that displayed urgent Alliance military communications. His expression was serious but hopeful in a way that Maya had rarely seen. "Instructor Collins," he said formally. "I have news from the front lines." The entire training bay fell silent as recruits and instructors alike turned to hear the update. Maya felt her heart race knowing that somewhere out there, the techniques she was teaching were being tested in real combat against the Vorthan Empire. "The first integrated sniper teams have engaged Vorthan forces in the Kepler sector," Crix announced. "The results have exceeded all expectations." Maya held her breath as Crix continued reading from his tablet. "Mixed species. Teams using Morrison techniques achieved a 93% hit rate on Vorthan armor weak points at extreme range. Previous Alliance forces had managed only 37% accuracy under similar conditions. Vorthan tactical advantages have been effectively neutralized by precise long-range elimination of their key personnel." A cheer erupted from the assembled students, but Maya felt only quiet satisfaction. This was what Frank had envisioned when he taught her that knowledge shared made everyone stronger. "More importantly," Crix continued, "the integrated training approach has been approved for implementation across all Alliance military academies. Maya Collins has been promoted to senior instructor and will oversee the development of the new curriculum." Maya felt overwhelmed by the recognition, but also by the responsibility. Frank's legacy was now spreading across the entire galaxy, changing how different species understood cooperation and shared strength. "There is more news," Crix said, his tone becoming more personal. "The colonies that were attacked in the first Vorthan wave have been liberated. New Haven is safe, as are the other human settlements that were threatened." Maya closed her eyes and sent a silent thanks to Frank's memory. His teachings had not only saved lives, but had proven that humans belonged among the stars as equals and contributors, rather than junior partners. Later that evening, Maya sat in the observation deck where she had once watched her fellow humans consider giving up their dreams. Now the same space was filled with mixed species study groups, sharing techniques and knowledge across racial barriers that had seemed insurmountable just weeks before. Jake Murphy found her there, just as he had during those dark days when humanity's future seemed uncertain, but now his face showed confidence and purpose instead of despair. "Maya," he said, sitting beside her, "I got word that my sister is alive and well. The integrated teams liberated Harmony Station with minimal casualties because they could eliminate Vorthan snipers before they could establish dominant positions." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of how close they had come to disaster. If she had continued hiding her abilities, if Frank's techniques had remained secret, how many lives would have been lost? "I keep thinking about something," Jake continued. "We almost let fear and insecurity convince us that we did not belong here. We almost accepted that humans were inferior instead of recognizing that we had something unique to contribute. Frank always said that diversity of approach was more valuable than superiority of capability," Maya replied. "The galaxy is a big place with many different challenges. No single species, no matter how naturally gifted, can handle everything alone." Lisa Chang approached them, her face glowing with excitement. "Maya, I just got my new assignment. I'm going to pilot a rapid response ship with an integrated sniper team. They want someone who understands both the technical and tactical aspects of the new combat methods." Maya felt proud, seeing how her human colleagues had flourished, once given the opportunity to show their true capabilities. But she was equally proud of the alien students who had embraced learning from a species they had once dismissed. Ryan Torres joined their group, carrying a tablet displaying tactical analysis reports. "The strategic implications are incredible," he said enthusiastically. "Integrated teams are not just more effective at shooting. They are developing new tactical approaches that combine the best thinking from every species." As Maya looked around at the mixed species groups studying together, she realized that Frank's greatest gift had not been his shooting techniques. His real legacy was the understanding that knowledge shared freely made everyone stronger. That cooperation based on mutual respect created capabilities that no single group could achieve alone. The war with the Vorthan Empire was far from over, but the Alliance now faced that challenge with weapons more powerful than any single species' natural advantages. They had unity based on shared knowledge, cooperation that enhanced rather than diminished individual capabilities, and the understanding that diversity was a source of strength rather than division. Maya picked up Frank's scope from the display stand and held it carefully. The modified optics caught the artificial starlight streaming through the observation deck windows, creating small rainbows that danced across her hands. "Thank you, grandfather," she whispered quietly. You were right about humans finding their place among the stars. Not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the teachers and bridge builders who help everyone reach their potential together. As she returned the scope to its place of honor, Maya knew that Frank Morrison's legacy would live on in every shot fired by integrated alliance teams. In every tactical innovation born from mixed-species cooperation, and in every young recruit who learned that true strength came not from natural advantages but from the wisdom to learn from others and share knowledge freely, humanity had found its place among the stars as the species that brought others together, that saw potential where others saw limitation, and that understood that the greatest weapon in any arsenal was the willingness to teach and learn from one another. The legendary sniper's granddaughter had become something even greater than he had imagined. The instructor who taught the galaxy that cooperation was more powerful than competition, and that knowledge shared was the ultimate force multiplier in any conflict. Maya Collins smiled as she watched her students continue their work, knowing that Frank Morrison's dream of humans proving their worth among the stars had been fulfilled in ways that exceeded even his visionary expectations.